Final pick is going to be 7 seconds left on the clock.
Make some
Is it going
noise
to be
for
CC?
yours.
Yes, CC instead, just to make sure that Takashi has some lethality in that lane. 67% win rate so far, and honestly, does pretty good in combination with the Loi. You throw that. Insilio on the blue, starting on their purple. King from Rrq Akira starting on his orange gold lane down on the bottom side of the map. Oh, what a chunk out from Lovely.
That's already to be expected. This is a Khalid after all, but since he's disrupting mid lane, he's not really disrupting King.
They're going to be disrupted. Let's see whether or not they're going to do that. And keep in mind that the M6 pass is now available. You can complete all the activity tasks during the event to reach level 75 for free. Hold on, the fight breaks out.
In some trouble, but has revitalized, so he'll be fine. Though because of that, Justinian gets the Litho for free.
All right. Losing out your Revitalize, not too big of a deal here. He won't have it for the upcoming Turtle fight, I would imagine. He used it pretty early, so actually, I take that back. He will have it for that Turtle fight, and maybe we might see an actual rotation from this mid lane. Unfortunately for Lovely as well as Reaper, they're trying to chunk out this Loi as much as they can, and even put some hurt into Luis's side. But in terms of rotations, they're looking for somewhere to punish. And both side lanes not really giving too much info.
Yeah, both side lanes are playing it safe because they know how important that can be in the first stages of the game. I do also want to ask you, Gideon, about this Impure Rage on the Nolan.
Impure Rage on the Nolan, well, I think it's all right. I mean, against some of the tanks, I think it's totally fine because it does max health damage. But generally, you would have imagined him to go for something along the lines of... what would have been better in this?
Like, normally it's go like Lethal Ignition.
I mean, yeah, but I was thinking of like something that might... I would say even Warcry might have been slightly better in these kind of situations, but it's about the burst, right? You want to get the initial burst.
I guess that is fair enough. For now, both junglers could be matching each other in pace, getting their final buff, but Justinian is the one who gets it first, immediately jumping onto the turtle. The rest of Insilio is here to back him up. Louis is going to get taunted. Yin-Yang reaction on Lovely, has the flicker back out, but Takashi is there to catch him with the curtain call. Links him and Reaper together. Justinian gets the turtle, and Louis jumps way too far forward, so he gets the first blood on the enemy road.
I don't know. I don't know how that was supposed to be played out. Louis knows for a fact he's not level 4 and he doesn't have flicker, right? So going for a taunt like that basically means that you're just giving yourself up as a free kill. At that point, you need to start walking away and make a decision whether or not, if you are going to contest, you have to do it a lot earlier. And if you're going to give it up, then why go in the first place?
Yeah, it was a bit too messy, especially with Insilio. Justinian got his buff earlier than King due to some slight mismanagement in the rotation. So he was already in a much better position. So without level 4, I think Rrq needed to just cut their losses.
Oh, how interesting. This doesn't decide. Goes for a Hunter Strike, first item from Justinian. He wants the extra movement speed rather than the raw burst that he could have been getting from Sea Halberd.
Interesting indeed. Impure Rage and Hunter Strike instead of Lethal Ignition and Halberd means that he wants to go for prolonged engagement instead of just in and out bursts.
Tough call here, because again, I don't see these fights dragging out super long unless I mean, if the engagements are clean, it should be pretty quick overall, right? The only big difference makers, I would imagine at this point in the game, are going to be the mid laners and maybe even the junglers, specifically for King. Not so much for Justinian, because I don't see him starting the fight that often.
I guess he's just expecting it's gonna take him longer to take down Louise or Takashi. We'll see whether this decision does end up working out for them.
Oh, wait. Actually, no. If he's not looking to fight, the next best thing when you have that Hunter Strike is to outperform the enemy jungler in terms of the economy. Stealing away his camps, being twice as fast on the clear, on top of having the movement speed to quickly transverse across. So right now, previously it was a 2-level lead. Justinian currently maintaining a 1-level lead over King so far, and a single kill. Let's see if he maintains that for the next 4 minutes.
I see. So the idea actually would be to avoid fighting in general and just try to out-economy Rrq Akira. Could be a good idea, especially since Rrq Akira is a team that likes to get advantage through teamfight victories.
If they play this slow, it should be alright, because again, keep your eyes on Takashi. He wants to start this off with that curtain call before anything.
Gusta survives the gank down bottom. Vengeance already used on Takashi. King comes in, gets the turtle. Avatar Guardian zones him out. Raging Sandstorm lands on one. Louis is gonna get caught. Revitalized though, keeping him alive. Yin-Yang reaction pops the Vengeance on Maniac as well. And now Rrq Akira getting their objective.
All right. Interesting. The timing of the AOG could be a little funny, but oh no, no.
Can he survive this? No, doesn't even need the extra TP. King goes in, gets the kill. Sagan, for some reason, continues the diversion and gets caught.
Where is the faith? Where is their faith in the teammates here? Somebody needs to communicate how likely this dive underneath the turret was going to go. And honestly, when the Purify came out initially out of Don't, that should have been pure confirmation that there's no way we can fail this.
Yeah, there was more than enough time for Sagan to see the kill and walk out of the diversion circle. He did not need to continue on that. So, bit of a mistake. Still a win for Rrq because the gold laner is a bit more valuable, but that did not need to happen.
So now, as the game continues to progress, we aren't seeing major leads just yet. We're not seeing hyper-aggression. We are just seeing very technical plays from both sides.
I think Justinian is actually going for a very late game build. I think his second item might be a BOD based on the way he's building.
I mean, he's got the Hunter Strike first, right? So it's about outmaneuvering your opponents and also doubling down on your economy. So far, really good stuff coming in from Rrq Akira. They broke bottom tier 1, now they're looking for top tier 1, and from this point onwards, I'm hoping that Rrq Akira really starts pumping up the gas.
Yeah, they've made some mistakes, but overall still look a lot cleaner. There's a clear direction in how they want to approach the map, and now King catches out Reaper in the mid lane, just instantly disintegrates to both him and Sagan.
Beautiful stuff here, and that's what one more.
Justinian pops the red tree to slow Takashi, but not able to get the kill, so they'll have to settle for the tier 1.
Yep, they just got to keep on trading here. Rrq Akira cannot get caught up with what Insilio wants to do. If they want to keep a pace with them, could be a little difficult because their composition is just a little bit more mobile all across the board. So Rrq Akira, they don't mind trading bot tier 1 for bot tier 1. They will take turtles, invade enemy jungle, vertically jungle, but most importantly, they need to play around their ults.
A good sequence of events here from Rrq, but good response from Insilio as well, pulling their whole team over to make sure that Justinian is still able to secure his purple buff away. Net worth now even on both sides.
Well, hopefully it starts to progress a little bit faster now. Since they have their ults, doesn't seem like there's much information on the map. Even bot side being completely untouched here.
At this point, with tier 1 already gone on the bot side, both teams can allow it to just leave itself alone for a little while to focus on the rest of the map. Diversion was spotted out by Lovely there. 3 members go through, not going to be able to find anyone.
BOD complete for Justinian here. He's going to have some pretty good cleanups later down the line, but Gusta Lagusta has basically been untouched this entire game. He is scaling up at a very good pace right now, and if he keeps the track for this for another 2 more minutes, I think he should be able to get his 3rd item. Currently, 2 already finished in the Berserker's Fury, as well as the Haas Claw.
Yeah, this is the position Rrq wants to be in exactly, with Gusta being able to farm freely. Don't already affected a little bit from that gank initially. And while the net worth difference doesn't seem all that much, Rrq Akira will be able to play for a bit more late game because they also have Takashi on DPS.
Well, for now, it's just going to be a wave clearing party between both of them.
Louis is going to be spotted in the jungle, able to heal up with Revitalize. AOG probably not needed, but may as well play safe here. Insilio not going to be able to find any other targets.
I don't know, Luis feels a little jumpy today. A lot of the decisions that he's been making so far, I mean, he's made mistakes, he's trying to recover from it, but he's trying to minimize the mistakes that he's doing.
Mid lane, 4 players from Rrq Akira. I don't think Insilio really wants to force anything. They don't have the numbers advantage, and Rrq are starting to really build up that gold lead.
I mean, Takashi is already a problem that Insilio need to think about because he keeps pulling them away from that front line. Because keep in mind that attention is also a resource. Now, they might just look for a potential all-in here. And you can see that Rrq Akira, they don't really want this Lord.
Stolen AOG, not going to find anyone. Sagan going to be the first target of Maniac, but he jumps very far. Has to use Vengeance early. Rrq still holding on to many of their resources. Justinian tries to burst Louise. Not able to do enough damage, though. And that means Insilio have to just back it off.
Man. Without their ults, and especially since Maniac also used this ult as well, he's not going to have much value. They quickly TP from base just to maintain pressure over this Lord. And I think that Rrq Akira, if they want to force it, now is a really good time to do so.
Especially after seeing Justinian topside. The Blade Surge from King just to scout out the brush. Not going to connect. They'll try to work on the Lord, but actually taking their time with it. This should give Justinian time to come back over. Maniac on top of Luis, Revitalize used, Raging Stamp from Flicker, lands on 2, AOG used defensively, and a huge burst from the left side with the flank. Justinian picks off Sagan, but King still secures the Lord.
Okay, at least they still got the Lord. The decision could have been made a lot faster there. All the information was laid out, but Rrq Akira was still hovering around that line of maybe we can take the Lord and still get a couple of kills. They're greeding out too much. They need to decide what's the bare minimum of what they want in these scenarios and then move from there.
Yeah, absolutely. But right now, the game state's still pretty alright for Rrq Akira. They'll have the first Lord of the game. Shouldn't be too difficult for Insilio to defend, since at this point, network lead's still actually not that different anyway. But this is the stage of the game where we have witnessed Rrq Akira make mistakes in the past. If they can clean it up, they'll look pretty good.
See how they're going to clean it up, though. King now getting his third item. Gusta Lugusta already finished his Malefic Gun as well. So this is a very big item power spike for Rrq Akira. If I look on over to Insilio, it looks like Don't hasn't gotten the Holy Crystal just yet. A little sad, but he'll eventually get to that point. We look over at Maniac and even his build, going for a Thunderbelt, then into the War Axe, and I think he's building up to a Dominance Ice.
So pretty greedy build from Maniac here, not focusing on defensive options. Diversion to bot side, not looking for a gank, just looking to push as many waves as possible while Insilio are distracted with the Lord. Blade Surge connects on Lovely. He'll be able to walk away, but Rrq get a free tier 2, just zoning Insilio with their presence alone.
This is how you play a siege-style composition, and Rrq Akira are doing very well so far with it. They've now developed a 2.3k lead, but that's not enough to finish the game on time, which begs the question, who scales better in the later half of the game? And it's tough to say, right? Because the Malefic Gun is such a powerful tool to outrange the Harrods, so unless you fall into the center of the Synchro Fissure, then you're in a lot of trouble.
I do definitely think in terms of damage, purely Rrq Akira definitely has the better late game because they just have more sources of DPS, but it also means that they're overall more squishy, so positioning matters a bit more for them.
I mean, then there's also the case of the fact that Sagan is playing Lo Yi, and the biggest problem, like, Lo Yi does a lot of damage, but she's so dependent on her charges. If she has no charges, you're basically out of the game until you get it back up.
Well, Holy Crystal was just completed on Dawn, so he finally has the damage necessary to contribute to these team fights, but is it too late at this point?
I don't think it's too late. I mean, he needs to get it eventually, right? It's his core item. It's so important for him to have it if he wants to have relevant damage, and not to mention that I'm not seeing a lot of magic resist coming from the side of Rrq Akira, so his damage will stick. Maybe not on Takashi because he has the Athena shield, but everybody else is free game.
Speaking of diversion, once again they catch out Lovely, instantly bursted down by a 5-man gank. Very surgical from Akira.
Very good stuff here. And now, with a man advantage, this Lord technically should be free.
Maniac gonna try and engage on Luis, but Takashi just gonna zone them off, and Luis even finds Justinian in the brush, surviving with Revitalize. Rrq Akira still 5-man strong, and Insilio cannot find an angle to enter. Takashi's just doing such a good job. Maniac finally uses the Vengeance Reaper, jumping too far forward. They'll trade for Luis and Takashi. 2-for-2 trade, actually. Insilio, though, still has to give up the Lord.
All right, that just happened. As long as Rrq Akira get the Lord, it's completely fine. We do see that Justinian is doubling down on that burst damage, and his item build so far is looking real nice to one-shot some targets here. And I think that even Takashi needs to give respect over to this Nolan. It's not like he's the tankiest hero in the world, considering that his build is more catered towards chasing his opponent, sustaining, rather than dealing with specific bursts from physical damage.
Despite that, though, he actually held Insilio back for a really long time during that Lord fight, not giving them a way of entering the Lord pit and maybe contesting King. It's because of that Akira was able to get it in the end, but there are overextensions happening on both sides right now.
Yeah. It's the push and pull isn't as clean as I'm expecting it to be, but it's fine as long as they maintain that lead. A 3.1k is still a valuable lead for Rrq Akira.
And with the Lord pushing out top lane, they should be able to get this mid tier 2, leaving Insilio with only inhibitors standing. They'll probably lose this top one as well, since they just don't have enough resources to handle every lane at the same time, though Rrq actually keeping it safe, not gonna try and push their advantage too far.
Should they be dragging this out longer than it should? Probably not, but at the same time, these inhibitors are really hard to take over. Everybody's generally short-ranged.
Stolen curtain call used on both sides. Top inhib will finally fall. We can see Maniac now not really able to hold the front line anymore. The DPS from Akira building up to dangerous levels.
Yeah, he's falling off at this point. He has to play around his ult as well as that Vengeance. Those are his only two defensive options at this stage of the game. But looking at the kill score, it's 5-5. It's highly technical between Insilio and as well as Rrq Akira. They're not really forcing mistakes upon them. They're just utilizing the tempo that they generate.
A surprisingly slow game from two aggressive teams, but a Raging Stance from Flickers lands on 4, but there's no one to follow up. Lovely just abandoned again. A free kill to Rrq Akira, and Insilio just back it off.
Why? What was it? Was he expecting Reaper to try and steal the AOG to try and make that combo work out for them? I'm not 100% sure as they look for an inhib.
Luis nearly 1v1ing Justinian by himself on the side, but Maniac doing a lot of damage, forcing Flicker out of Gusta Lagusta and Doge finishing off Sacred, and now Rrq Akira missing all of their abilities, but King finally finishing off Maniac in the mid lane.
Okay, a little messy fight, but they stole the TP. Can they intercept
Stolen
them?
diverse, and they go straight in. Gusta Lagusta is scouted out and eliminated instantly.
They didn't react fast enough. They totally forgot that Reaper stole the initial TP, and now the punish almost.
Oh, Justinian with the second follow-up. Killing spree for the Nolan, finally getting the kills he needs.
Hopefully that teaches Rrq a lesson here. Akira need to keep in mind all the small details that are happening in this game. These guys didn't come here to wildcard to lose. They're here to make it to Swiss stage.
Yeah, that's a big reversal, and it's a very familiar thing for Rrq Akira because it has happened to them more than once here at the wildcard. A free Lord for Insilio, and a much needed one. It would have been hard for them to defend it if Rrq Akira got their hands on it.
Personally, for me, I'm thinking that Insilio, as of right now, are better at taking advantage of Rrq Akira with these small opportunities compared to the other way around, where we see that Rrq Akira is more likely to overextend. Now, I do hope that, Insilio really make clean calls here because they cannot just leave Lovely and Maniac by themselves anymore.
Yeah, it would be a shame for this sudden comeback to amount to nothing. We can see they're scouting out the mid lane, allowing the Lord to handle bot on its own to see if they can sync up as much structural damage as possible.
What?
Rrq Akira are going to be sticking very closely together.
How close do they want to stick together? They just need to space out enough to make sure that the Raging Sandstorm doesn't connect on multiple people, but at the same time, they can't really check these bushes effectively.
And now Lovely looking from the flank. Rrq Akira playing very defensively, and they already popped Lovely's immortality, so that's a bit of a wasted resource for Insilio, but they're able to trade mid tier 2 for it, so it's still not too bad.
Wishing Lantern completed by Reaper. He wants to make sure that he can punish Louise, maybe even King in these small moments, because Reaper doesn't exactly have the longest range. More of a mid to short range style of play, and even taking the Brave Smite, knowing that he's going to have to face off against King the majority of the time.
Things are coming to a heel here, ladies and gentlemen. Game state very, very tense. 18.5 minutes in net worth difference is negligible, and the cores on both sides going to be fully built at this stage.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a winning scenario for Rrq Akira, and a lot of it just bends on whether they can get some proper battle spells out from Insilio. Like, yes, we've seen the Raging Sandstorm being thrown out randomly, same goes for Maniac, but I think the battle spells are by far the most important resource from Insilio to guarantee their engages.
Both teams looking to see if they can find any person that might be isolated pushing the lane, but there's a lot of fear in the land of Dawn right now. Both teams giving a lot of respect to the other. In fact, maybe a bit too much, as they're not really willing to macro the map.
Oh, look, it's a cold war right now. It's a battle of information, and it's difficult because even if you're in Rrq's... Oh, here we go. Where's that TP heading to?
It's down bottom, and there is no one down there, so...
I mean, if they wait long enough, somebody's going to have to show.
I mean, but they already know that Gusta Lagusta's down here, and they know that he's not going to be halfway across the map by himself.
Also fair, but they're going to lose position over the Lord. There's only 20 more seconds here, so taking that recall probably wasn't necessary. They could have just kind of hovered around that mid lane if worse comes to worse. If not, they still could just kind of throw Louise and Takashi into these bushes.
I guess both teams are just being very, very concerned right now. Insilio knows one game guarantees them a final spot. Rrq Akira knows they cannot give it to them. So it's a little bit of a tense conflict, a bit of a Mexican standoff here in the land of Dawn as neither side willing to give an inch.
Yeah, look at the slow pushing waves on top end as well as bottom side. One answered on the bottom side, but I think that Rrq Akira are perfectly fine just to let it build up.
If they continue letting the lanes build up, Insilio is going to be forced to respond to them eventually. And right now, they're positioning together because they're expecting Rrq to go for this Lord. But the longer they do so, the worse it's going to get.
Look, 1.5 waves on that top side. Keep in mind, there's a missing inhibitor as well. So the Siege minions are going to be extra thick and bulky. Oh,
Maniac starts the engagement, pops the Vengeance, still has Immortality. Actually forces Rrq Akira back pretty far. Still able to survive as well to recall back the base and actually go for the defense. They tried to go for a diversion with Gusta Lagusta, but Justinian's already back there, so they do not commit to it. They're gonna go ahead and go for the Lord instead since the enemy jungler is no longer here, but they're not actually blitzing it. They really should be trying to force this down with no Rrq on the other side. Insilio finally engaged. King will secure it. Raging Sandstorm comes in. Luis already picked off Toad with his Almond Sword, doing a lot of damage. Yin Yang reaction, not enough poke in return. Gusta though responding with some damage, but jumps right into the blade of the Grim Reaper.
what is happening here? What is happening? So they knew that the jungler showed down on bot side. They're worried about that Raging Sandstorm of a potential steal if it does boil down to it. They can just pull the Lord to their side. If not, just keep it within the pit. King can easily dodge it unless Lovely guarantees the initial flicker. But let's look at the instant replay, right? I just want to see a couple of details here. When the Raging Sandstorm actually, where was it targeted to? Towards the back line anyways. It was headed towards Gusta Lagusta. So again, it feels like Rrq Akira are overthinking these scenarios.
I think that's exactly what is happening. They are overthinking. Because Justinian was back in the base. They could have blitzed the Lord right there, and then as long as they just stood far apart enough to not be caught by Raging Sandstorm. But while they did get the Lord, it was just such a scared approach from Rrq.
I think they're playing a little too rigid here. Rrq Akira need to relax a little bit more here because most of the time they have winning scenarios. They are put in very advantageous opportunities. And I think it's on Insilio to actually make the motion first. And I think that Rrq Akira knows that.
And Insilio, they're no strangers to this position. They already consider themselves the underdogs of the wild card. So I think they're fully ready to deal with the pressure ahead of them. Their positioning's pretty good overall. They just gotta up the macro play a bit to put pressure on Rrq.
Yeah, and it's not like Insilio's engagements are super clean as well. A lot of the time, it's just Maniac or even Lovely jumping in, buying a little bit of time, finding that information before Insilio finally pulls the trigger.
This is going to be a long haul here, as right now, even though Rrq Akira has the structural advantage, it doesn't feel like they're playing in a good enough way to keep that going. Luis will get scouted out. Maniac takes so much damage from the Yin Yang reaction. Gonna back it off straight away. They're not really able to find more space here.
I think it's totally fine for now. They just need the Lord on their side, and then they can start pushing out and making things happen across the map. Just have to wait just a wee bit longer here. In the meantime, at least for Insilio, having to play reactively, not much of a choice in their eyes, because there's just so much counter-engage coming in from Rrq Akira, mainly coming in from Luis, but the timings of his AOG, I would say, is a little questionable and honestly punishable.
And that's why I said Gatot as a primary initiator really isn't the best thing. You gotta have a bit more crowd control. And because Rrq Akira went for the CC to match the Tamas, Luis doesn't really have that sort of setup. So the positioning can be pretty awkward. And that's something that Insilio has been able to take advantage of.
Well, I mean, their composition is more designed for Siege. I think they should be utilizing that AOG. Oh!
Raging Sandstorm flickers in, finds Sagan in the back line, and now they jump on top of King. Immortality gone, shut down by Justinian. Mega kill for the Nolan. And that is the enemy jungler gone.
Interesting. Interesting. No commitments of ultimates. Nobody wanted to try and bail King out of that scenario. Something is not working out for Rrq Akira, and I think it's their communication. That's just an assumption here. I'm not 100% sure. But for now, Insilio have the advantage and should be able to take this Lord without any contestation.
Should be an absolutely free Lord. King is still dead for another 40 seconds. In fact, Rrq should be making something happen on the other parts of the map instead of just hovering here, looking for something that isn't there.
The pressure is mounting. Rrq Akira, they cannot afford to lose this game. They will lose their ticket to the Swiss stage. If they do, they've got to win this 2-0 against Insilio if they want to stand a chance. And I think that Insilio, minimal pressure on their side.
They know that even if they drop this game, they'll still have other opportunities. But they're still playing very, very effectively right now. A free tower up top. Lord will be pushing bottom. This is going to be a defense for Rrq.
Yeah, man. It's all about making decisive calls. And right now, Insilio, initially at the beginning of the game, it's still a little shaky here and there, but now they're really finding their footing. Especially since the Rrq Akira positions themselves, well, mispositions themselves a lot of the time.
You can tangibly see the momentum building up on Insilio's side of the map. 7k gold lead, though, at 25 minutes. That actually doesn't mean as much as you would think. Lord will finally collide down bottom. Only 2 waves for Rrq Akira to deal with, though, so they don't have to worry about it for now, but Insilio, still 5-man strong, gonna be going in. Bottom inhibitor's already gone. Louise almost bursted, but pops to revitalize. Maniac able to jump out, still has immortality standing, and Quicksand Guard keeps Lovely up against Tekashi as well. Surgical approach, Insilio not able to do as much damage as they'd like, though.
Yeah, I think at this point, once the next wave start pushing through, they might want to consider throwing Lovely to try and use that Raging Sandstorm to zone out the members of Rrq Akira, maybe even force a reaction. He's got Flicker to get out of AOG range. If not, at the very least, just pull himself away from tower range.
Something else I've noticed is that Sagan has not used the diversion for the last few minutes. Rrq Akira has been put in a position where they're actually too afraid to do any sort of risky play because they know what is at stake.
Too much is at stake if you make the wrong call, right? When you have structure advantage against your opponents and you're playing this Loyi, at least you know that 50% of your map is a safe space to play from. Well, I mean, give or take depending on the scenario, but now going into the backline could be a good idea if somebody shows from Insilio. And most of the time they are just walking as 5 to guarantee that they don't fall into that trap.
It can certainly be a strategy to not use diversion for a while to make your opponents forget that it exists, but I'm not really sure if that's the strategy Rrq is going for here. They're even starting to buy the magic potions, actually, on Insilio's side, not saving for item swaps. They just want to push in the next chance they get.
Yeah, they just want raw power at this point. If not, maybe they just have way too much gold, right?
That's possible.
I mean, we're already in the ultra late game. It's been 27 minutes already and a 7.3k lead, as you mentioned. It looks big, but really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
What does matter is Insilio is controlling most of the map. Rrq Akira are not willing to split themselves up to deal with the lanes independently, which means that they're nowhere close to being able to contest the Lord Pit.
Well, now they use their Magic Sentry, open up that top side. Love how they're making sure that they have a good split as well. There's a lot of possibilities for a backdoor to happen, but unfortunately, Lord spawning on that top side allows Insilio more control. And this is what they've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, they do have to worry about diversion still, though it was actually just used to bring them up to top lane, just to make sure the waves are pushed up. Conceal does come out, though it doesn't really amount to anything, as Justinian and Reaper will scout out Rrq, walking through the mid-bush flank.
Can't do much about that. Again, this Valentina is making Gatot's life really, really difficult. To find an effective engage is also asking a lot from Louise. But even so, even Tekashi realizing, man, it's really hard to zone away Justinian, especially since that his ult, that fracture, it comes off a cooldown way too fast.
Something Rrq Akira has to worry about, though, is Reaper has just stolen the diversion, so a backdoor play is now possible for Insilio as well, and they are doing exactly that! They're going bot lane, they're looking for Sagan! When the crown comes out, he will survive! He has immortality swapped over as well. Insilio not able to find the pickup they were looking for. Avatar the Guardian used, not able to cut anyone off either. So that doesn't amount to anything.
All right. I mean, it was a good idea coming in from Insilio's side. Don't get me wrong there. But luckily, Sagan, he's got the mechanics, able to hit the Winter Crown just in time. And now they have first position with a pushing a huge wave actually on the top side as well.
But they're not blitzing the Lord once again. Justinian is actually close enough that he can come and connect with the right timing. Rrq Akira still knows the risk. Tekashi buying a lot of time against Maniac in the mid lane, but they're still not really trying to force this Lord down. Justinian has to clear the wave down at the base though, so they'll finally commit to it. Raging Sandstorm comes out, King gets the Lord away. Don't jumps in with the Zaman Force, diverse and try and get out, but Sagan not able to do so. Louise is gone, however, Tekashi shuts down Don't. Sagan gonna be stopped with the unstoppable streak from Justinian. Lord still going to Rrq.
Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. They were able to stop Reaper from actually getting an effective engagement here. They sacrificed two, but at the same time made sure that King gets to live in that fight. Tekashi is doing as much as he possibly can right now to zone away the members of Insilio, and finding that kill into Dode, you can see that even Insilio is feeling the desperation.
Yeah, the desperation is plain and clear, but at the very least, Rrq Akira were able to use the diversion to set themselves up for a better place in the Lord after Insilio's failed backdoor. Now it is Insilio who has to deal with the Lord pushing up top lane.
Yeah, it looks like Rrq Akira called for the pause here. Let's see whether our marshals will be able to take care of it. It looks like it's something with King that's going on their side. But don't worry, our marshals already at the bay, ready to solve the problem.
Combo for aggressive play.
Yeah, but I mean, they've missed their timings for aggressive plays, right? It's really going to come down to a full 5v5 since we're already hitting the 30-minute mark. Now that I think about it, wasn't the longest game? Actually, never mind. I'll double check with Zipper later on. But this, so far, looking to be in contention for the longest game here at Wildcards.
I think it definitely is going to be, especially since without Louise and Sagan, Rrq Akira aren't able to do anything with this Lord either. Game gonna be prolonging for a little bit longer here, with both teams not willing to take risks.
Well, I mean, there is the second wave, so let's see whether they do anything with the second wave. Maybe force a fight, maybe look for a potential pick here. I think at least for Tekashi, the scenario that I see happening is Tekashi getting on top of Don't, locking him down with the curtain call and a +1. It would be ideal if he gets Reaper, but it really doesn't matter. As long as you anchor Don't in a spot, Louise can come in big time in a huge fight, and as long as they keep it to a traditional front to back, they should win these fights easily.
Interestingly though, I think Reaper did steal the curtain call himself too, so if he is able to do the same thing and lock down Gusta Lagusta with King or Sagan, that would actually be really good for Insilio.
It would, because the opposite combination will be steal the curtain call and then having the Raging Sandstorm flicker from Lovely to lock down too. That also works as well.
So many possibilities, but fate has decreed a single winning path for both these teams, and neither of them willing to diverge from that one road to destiny. 32 minutes, another 25 seconds until the next Lord.
For now, both teams need to be patient. Nothing much they can really do at this stage of the game. They could look to try and bait out some motions, which I hope that they would do, right? They have the pressure to push them all the way up to their inhibitors and then look to TP out, worst comes to worst. And, whoa, Conceal being thrown out.
Insilio's too far away for this to really do anything though. They were expecting them to be guarding the bushes in the Lord pit, but Insilio's playing a little bit further back.
The frustrating thing that I'm seeing here is the fact that they are taking space, but they're not looking to hold the space. So what's the point of taking the space if you're not looking to hold it in the first place, right? You open up these bushes, and now guess what? You have to recheck them again just to make sure that nobody is there, and you are uncontested for the Lord.
But the macro still in favor of Rrq. They're able to more easily shove out the lane, so Insilio has to actually respond, and that gives Rrq information on where their opponents are. Lord at 50%. Rrq Akira gonna reset it once again, not willing to risk it. Maniac in the backline, but does get scouted out by Tekashi, and now they catch out Lovely. Gonna be stuck in place within Yin Yang reaction, but Rrq not overextending to break that immortality.
Okay, now Rrq, they see this. Clearly that Reaper has the curtain call, right? So now they gotta make sure that their backline doesn't get locked down. Oh, wait a minute. They're just giving this up.
Rrq Akira either looking for the re-engage or giving it up, and it looks like the latter is the case. Justinian gets it for free. Maniac now wants to run away. AOG lands, knocks off the Tamus, but he's able to jump out. Still has immortality remaining. Rrq Akira are playing too slow, and now Justinian is re-engaging on Tekashi. Vengeance comes out, Raging Stars from Flickers, fight too, but Gusta shuts down Justinian in exchange for his own life, and the minions are in the base, but King will be able to recall to clear it up. Tekashi and Sagan, will they be so lucky? Lovely still on top of them. Reaper finishing things up. Immortality pop on the cut lead. Maniac very low, not willing to walk up as Sagan is still very high HP. He's able to diversion them into the base actually, but Don't is there to stop them. Does he have Summon Force? He does not, but he just got it back up. Tekashi is down. Winter Crown on Sagan. Immortality swap, but he doesn't have abilities. Double kill for Don't.
Oh man, and Don't still has his Purify, so even if a Yin Yang reaction were to connect, it would not have mattered. He would still get that last auto off. They trade 3 for 1.
This is now a 4v2. King and Luis don't have enough wave clear to deal with the Lord, and the Crystals at 30%. Reaper and Don't are coming in to back up their teammates, and that's Luis down. Killing spree for Don't. Finally, the game is broken open as Insilio take the game.